we're going to just talk about the suit of cups. Generally speaking, we mentioned in our overview video that the suit of cups has to do with emotions or feelings. So throughout this, you'll see water depicted. That's the element that's tied to this suit. And you can kind of connect those two with the sense that feelings are fluid, just like water. If you can connect it that way, it makes it a little bit easier for you to remember that feelings and water are connected to this suit of cups. I also mentioned in the overview video that the metaphor, filling your bucket, is a common way to remember the suit of cups being tied to emotions. It's just one that works for me. Whether it works for you or not, I don't know, but give it a try. Overall, you'll see a lot of water depicted throughout the cards. It's also tied to the season of summer, so it's a lot of outdoor, a lot of warm weather kind of depictions, I guess, for the most part. There's a night scene as well, but that's kind of what you'll see throughout. Now, obviously throughout the deck, and the Minor Arcana specifically, there's numbers. So it starts at ace, which is 1, and so on the ace you have 1 cup, and then it goes up from there. So the 2 will have 2 cups, 3 will have 3 cups, just like a normal deck would. That being said, when you get up to 10, it jumps to page, not to, jack. So it's a page, which maybe would be equivalent to a jack, but then you also have knight before you go to queen and king. So just a little bit different in that sense, but once you get up to those ones, they're each only holding a single cup, regardless of the fact that it's, we in our heads would equate it to a higher number. These ones are more about the symbolism of that age range or of the status of that particular individual when we're thinking about the cup association with that card. So, overall, when you're looking at these images, it's important to sort of see how are the cups being used, where are they placed in the image, how are they being interacted if there's people in the image, and generally speaking, what does their placement tell you? So that might sound a little abstract, but let's have a look at a few as an example. So generally speaking, the ace in all of the different suits has to do with an upsurge or divine intervention. So whenever you see a hand kind of coming out of a cloud, and there's a few times that you might see that in this and other suits, that's sort of a divine intervention. And the 1 sort of has to do with an upsurge, a beginning, a big bang kind of thing. So the Ace of Cups, upsurge of emotions, something big that's overflowing your cup, overflowing your bucket with emotions. Now, those could be good or bad, reversed, upright, depends on the context. And again, with all of these cards, it's really important to use your intuition and consider the fact that it's not just specifically this card, it's how it's placed in arrangement to other cards and, your central card or your significator if you're using one, etc. And then if we look at, let's say, the 5 of Cups, this one has our 5 cups, but you'll see that there's 3 here and there are 2 over here. And the 3 on this side are spilt, they're tipped over, and the 2 on this side are still standing. So I'll also talk about the figure a little bit here because he's a hooded, cloaked figure, which generally when there's a cloak on one of our characters, but I don't know what you want to call them, it kind of signifies that they're traveling or they're on a course of action. So this person is traveling or is headed somewhere, but they're disappointed. They seem disappointed. They're cowered over about these spilt cups. But what you'll notice is their back is somewhat turned away from the full cups, from the cups that are standing. So that's when you start to say, okay, well, why is he noticing the cups that are spilt? Are those cups more important? Why are the cups that are standing not as important? Does he even know that those cups are there? You can start making sort of some questions in your mind about what that's saying. And when you pull it up, let's say that there's an upsurge of emotions and that's placed really closely to this one. It might be that there's something that's happening that could give them fulfillment, but that they're not noticing it, that they're focused too much on the negative in their life. So as you see, you can start to kind of decide how these interplay with each other once you do spreads and play around with integrating the cards together. Let's look at another one. So this one is the Seven of Cups, and this one specifically is different from a lot of the others in that it doesn't have, it doesn't have water coming out of the cups. I guess a few of them don't have water, but it has very distinctive symbols coming out of the cups. So when you look at this one, you're kind of like, what's going on here? This person, there's the clouds, they're looking up at it. Again, when we think about the clouds, we think of divine intervention, or we think of ideas or thought bubbles or dreams. So there's a cloud, and within the cloud, all of these cups, and they all have something different. So you start, wondering, does this person have a choice to make? Are they dreaming about all these different things? What's going on in terms of these cups? But they're full. They're full with these things. So it's not that they're empty cups. They have something to offer. So again, starting to kind of get your wheels spinning with ideas when you're looking at something like this. And these aren't very specific ideas. These aren't definitions of the cards. I'm just pointing out some things that we should be noticing when we're looking at these types of cards. I'll skip then over to one of our more figures. So the Queen of Cups, if you look at the Queen, she's sort of seated sideways. She's admiring her cup. Her cup is quite adorned. If you compare her cup, as an instance, to the Knight or even the King, hers is quite adorned. So why is that? And why is she seated sideways as opposed to front? And, she's on a nice throne, but she's surrounded by water. Is the water calm? Is it rocky? These are all things that you kind of want to look at and think about. All right, so just for fun, let's take our suit of cups and let's shuffle them up. I like to play. I don't think that there's anything wrong with playing a little bit. And then I'm going to flip over a cup. Funny. Okay, so the Queen of Cups. So for me, the Queen of Cups, if I'm intuiting for myself, which is quite easy because I'm in my own head, but sometimes for that reason, it's not easy because you can not be so objective. You tend to be subjective when it's for yourself. But she's kind of admiring the cup. So for me, it's admiring how far I've come, how far I've worked on managing my emotions and my responses to things that happen in my life. This is, for me, is a feeling of accomplishment and rising above sort of some of my struggles. So that would be from, me just to read it for myself. I'll flip another one just for fun. Ace of Cups, another one we went over. Maybe I'll just leave that for now. An upsurge of emotions. Maybe something's coming for me that is going to bring me much happiness. Who's to say? All right, so another card that we looked at. This is very strange. But the cups that are spilt in front, have had a lot of disappointments. I'm trying to learn to look at some of the things that I do have in my life that I am grateful for and practice gratitude and not focus on the negatives so much and, be appreciative for what I do have, because what I have is amazing, and I need to spend more of my energy focusing on those positives rather than wasting my energy on negatives that aren't serving me. So sort of something that I would intuit from that card for myself. And then let's do the last one, the Knight of Cups. At least this is a new one. So the Knight is often something of action. Here he's seated on a horse. He seems very stalwart. He's holding the cup up proudly. He seems to be traveling somewhere. So if I'm intuiting this for myself, in this instance, maybe perhaps it's saying that I'm progressing. So I'm changing from, it's like a moment of transition for me from one stage of my life to the next on an emotional level. Again, these are very simple. This isn't any kind of spread. I'm just playing with the cards. I'm just pulling out cards. I'm just intuiting what they say to me and leaving it at that. At this point in time, I'm not doing any specific spread. I'm not trying to find out any past, present, future, anything like that. Just whatever comes to mind, and that's fine. Oftentimes when you're doing an exercise like this, it might be a good idea to write down what you're thinking of and kind of refer back to that in the future, because you might have different ideas the next time you flip open the cards. And the more and more you do this, the more ideas that you might get from them. It's also kind of fun to play this with a friend, and instead of doing it for yourself, flip it over and intuit it for the other person. So you can kind of go back and forth taking turns if you don't mind them touching your deck. So that's up to you and your personal preferences there. So yeah, let's leave that for the cups for now, and we'll move on to the next suit and go over that one.